girl I just showed you a picture of, right?
Right.
Her mother and father's black and white,
Mm.
but she looks, you mean, white.
She
So how would you like if you was dating her? How would you mean like depict her? Like what would you
well,
honestly feel about
I,
her? Like when it comes to culture and all that stuff. Like how would you
that's what
feel
I'm about
about
to say.
that?
That's what it come down to. It come
Yeah,
down to
yeah.
the culture. That's kind of actually that's a good topic. So most people, regardless of the race, honestly, you act, behave, fit in with whatever culture that you came up with. If you grew up in a
Well,
white
don't give me
neighborhood,
that one, but
no,
wow.
that's 100% true. It's 100% true because you got people who are mixed. This ring light is bright, but you got people that's mixed, white, Asian, black, whatever.
Personally, I'm definitely mixed.
But you, from the outside looking in, you would assume that that person, you could pretty much guess what type of
Like, hold
neighborhood
on,
the
hold on.
person
So,
came up in
like for instance, when you see my sister and my brothers, right?
just from looks.
Obviously, yeah, yeah, yeah. Just from looks, what would you assume they are?
That's not enough, though.
No, no, I'm just asking. Like,
I
what would you
wouldn't
assume?
know. I would know
I
they
mean, but
mixed.
obviously, as like you, I don't think I told you this before, but when it comes down to it, right, my grandma said, and obviously she raised us because my parents were gone, whatever the case might be. Like, my grandma said that literally, as I get older, I look more like my father. Obviously, my dad is black. You mean like you know that? She said as I get older, I look more and more like him. I mean, but as opposed to my siblings, they don't.
Now, is she talking about like features or like skin tone?
Features. No, no, no. Well, both, both. Because I mean, if you look at me, like I'm not the same complexion as my siblings. They're
Right.
very light brown.
Well, like you can have somebody with a biracial parents, whatever, black mom, white dad, or vice versa, whatever. For me, just looking at them, I don't know what they identify as. I need to talk to them, see, what type of language they using and
Mhm.
all of that. Like, if you take a person that's mixed with black and white, but they grew up in um
Well, no, no,
a
no.
new,
Because me and my siblings obviously grew up
you
around
grew up
black
around black
people.
people.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
Like,
so just by looking at you, I don't know how you behave and act and I don't know what culture you came up in just by looking at you. But I have to have a conversation with you or somebody else, then it's like, oh, okay, they probably identify as black or they probably because you got people because I know people personally that has a black dad, white mom, but he grew up in a white neighborhood. And I don't want to say
so
white.
what would you identify me as
That's
though?
what I'm saying. I would have to talk to the person, but just by
No, no.
looking,
But I'm
I
just
don't know.
asking, like, if
I
if
just I wouldn't know. That's like I don't know. Like that's like saying if I give you somebody's um height, weight, and shoe size, what do you think? Where do you think they grew up at? I have no idea. But if I talk to you and you using words like um cuz and homie, you probably from the West Coast. Or if you using words like whatever they be saying in New York or whatever, it's like, oh, they probably grew up in New York, like you could just tell, but you gotta talk to the person. I don't like I would never like I can say Danielle's name because she probably would end up coming on eventually. But if I just looked at Danielle, I would one know she's mixed because she's too light to be black, all black, and she's too dark to be like all white, which is fine, whatever. But I would have to have a conversation with the person first to see like what you probably identify as more. And I would assume if like when I assume I can use you for example, you identify as black because you grew up in a black neighborhood around black people,
well,
all
black
that.
black side of my family,
Right.
so
So that's where you came up with. That's you talk like that neighborhood. I'm not gonna say you talk black because I hate when people say you
yeah.
talk black, but you talk and behave like what you grew up around. Like that's yeah, that's how you came up. That's what it is. But again, but just by looking at somebody, I would never guess or assume nothing. Like I need to talk to you and like be around the person first. Like who?
Yeah,
Like
but
that's it.
you're still bypassing the question. Like,
What's your
if you
question?
saw, if you, like, for instance, Danielle, right? You mean, obviously, she doesn't look black. She doesn't.
Right. Oh, right.
But she obviously is. Like, her
No.
father is black, though. She
Okay.
definitely
Okay.
is, though.
Yeah. Okay. So I get you. Your definition of black is if you got at least half, that means you black.
So, if you met her for the first time, would you honestly
She's mixed.
assume that literally he would be able to, blend in with people of color? Like, would you?
Like I said, just looking at her, I don't know. Cause you'd be surprised. And I was just looking at this. Not Vice. What's that? I think it's a little show on YouTube. Not Vice. Where they be doing. I think it's called Cut or
I was gonna say
something.
Vice is like more like maybe like doing some really good documentary.
Yeah, it's like a documentary thing, but they no, it's called I forget what it's called, but they got like a group of people who agree with like who are like leftists, and then they got a group of people who are whatever the opposite of that is. Then they it's called common ground.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen that?
No,
Well, it's
never.
called common ground, but they got like it'd be like gay people compare, and they'll have a conversation with like Christians, or it'll be like the Democrats versus
Mm-hmm.
Republicans, and they'll ask questions and they talk about it or whatever. Like what was I talking about? How did I get in that? Oh,
Talking about like race.
I was watching an episode of that, and one of the girls she was clearly mixed. She was like your complexion. She had like curly hair. It wasn't straight, but it wasn't like extra curly. It was like midway, so you could tell she was biracial. And the way she talked, I could tell she grew up with her. She grew up
Yeah.
in a neighborhood where
Mm-hmm.
she talked proper and she didn't use a lot of
Right.
slang and all
I'm
of that stuff.
you
But I'm
like
saying, wait. You know what I'm saying, but that girl who I'm talking about who looked mixed, just by looking at her, I would have no idea. But when she started talking, if I had to guess, she probably grew up in a neighborhood where there was some money and education. She
mm-hmm.
seemed educated and nice and all of that. So whatever side of the family had that, that's the side that she probably came up on.
Exactly.